fellow students. We are the Group 8 from 1GS Accountancy C, and today we are discussing about one of the essay written by our national hero, Rizal, which entitled Letter to the Young Women of Malolos. Now, we are going to know what is the purpose of this letter, the background or history of this letter, why did Rizal wrote this letter to the young women, and the salient points of the letter and its analysis. So first, we are going to know the background of their story. To the Young Women of Malolos is an essay written by Rizal while he was in London upon the request of Marcelo H. Del Pilar. On December 12, 1888, a group of 20 young women of Malolos petitioned Governor General Weyler for the permission to open a night school so that they might study Spanish under Teodoro Sandico. So before, during the Spanish colonial government, we have this belief that yung mga babae ay dapat nasa bahay lang, gumagawa ng mga gawaing bahay, nagbabantay ng mga anak, at palaging under sa kanilang mga asawa. And walang karapatan na mangialam, especially sa politics. And therefore, hindi tayo pinapahintulutan na mag-aral. However, this group of 20 young women of Malolos disproved that principle na ang mga babae ay not capable of doing anything. Therefore, nag-ask sila ng petition para makapag-aral sila ng Spanish language. Bakit? Because Spanish language is the language of politics and society before. Ang Spanish language ang ginagamit sa mga libro at ginagamit ng mga government sa lipunan. So, gusto nila malaman yung political reforms na isinasawalat sa mga libro noon, at para maintindihan yun, kailangan nilang mag-aral ng Spanish. And itong si Teodoro Sandico ay isang manunuro ng Spanish language, and he offered free teaching to the young women of Malolos na turuan silang na mag-aral ng Spanish secretly. So therefore, gusto niyang maging legal yung pagtuturo niya ng Spanish sa kanilang mga babae. So ang ginawa niya, nagsulat siya ng letter in Spanish language at binigay niya ito sa mga kababaihan sa Malolos at nag-sign sila doon, at gayon naman sabi niya ay ibigay daw yun kay Governor General Weyler para i-approve na mag-aral sila ng Spanish. So yun, binigay ng mga kababaihan yung petisyon nila kay Governor General Weyler. However, Father Felipe Garcia objected their plan, so the Governor General turned down the petition. So, si Father Felipe po Garcia is isang Spanish priest. And we all know that Catholic Church plays a vital role during the Spanish colonial government. And yung government is naniniwala at sumusunod sa mga desisyon ng mga praile. And therefore, dahil nga nag-object si Father Felipe, hindi rin na-approve yung petition na ginawa ng mga young women of Malolos. So, bakit nag-object or nag-disapprove si Father Felipe Garcia na aprubahan yung petition ng mga kababaihan? Dahil kapag natuto na sila gumamit ng Spanish language, mababasa na nila yung mga libro na contains a liberal ideas about sa government and society ng Pilipinas, and therefore, mas magka-crave ng freedom and demand to the human rights ang mga kababaihan. Therefore, it is a threat to the Spanish colonial government and to the power of the church. However, the women still continued the petition of school, and they succeeded in obtaining the government approval in a condition that Señorita Guadalupe Reyes should be their teacher. So ayun, dahil hindi sumuko yung mga kababaihan na erase yung kanilang petition, luckily, sa tulong ng mga taong against sa Spanish colonial government, naaprubahan yung kanilang petisyon na makapag-aral sila ng Spanish. However, there are conditions. And based on my research, ang mga kondisyon din dito is they should be pay for their expenses of the school. So, sila yung magbabayad ng kanilang gastusin kung paano papatayuin yung eskwelahan. And hindi ito shoulder ng government. Another is, hindi siya night school, kundi morning school. So, gagawin yung pagtuturo sa umaga. And then the last condition is, Señorita Guadalupe Reyes should be their teacher. So, on February 17, 1889, Del Pilar, who was in Barcelona, wrote to Rizal, who was in London, requesting to send a letter in Tagalog to the brave women of Malolos. So, ang tanong dito, bakit po si Marcelo H. Del Pilar yung nag-request? For your information, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, or commonly known for his pen name, Plaridel, was also a writer, journalist, lawyer, and a Freemason. So, si Jose Rizal and si Marcelo H. Del Pilar are known na mga leaders ng isang reform movement in Spain. Ano itong reform movement? A reform movement, ito yung tinatawag din na propaganda movement, set of a communication actions na itinayo po ng mga manunulat ng mga Filipino para isawalat yung mga political reforms na nangyayari during that time through books, leaflets, and newspapers. So, dahil gustong bigyan po rin ni Marcelo H. Del Pilar yung katapangang ginawa ng mga kababaihan noon, nag-request siya ng letter kay Jose Rizal to appreciate them. So, on February 22, 1889, Rizal sent the letter to Del Pilar to transmittal to Malolos. So, within 5 days, natapos po ng ating national hero yung letter na para sa mga kababaihan. And then, binigay niya ito kay Marcelo H. Del Pilar at siya rin ibibigay sa mga kababaihan sa Malolos. And for your information, these are the names of 20 young women of Malolos.
Salient points of the letter. Ito yung mamahalagang ideya mula sa sulat ni Jose Rizal to the young women of Malolos. So number 1 is the rejection of the spiritual authority of the friars. So hindi lahat ng liderato ng simbahan o ng mga pari ay isinasabuhay ang kanilang pagiging makadiyos at pagmamahal sa kanilang simbahan. Karamihan sa kanila ay nagkakaroon ng hindi kaaya-ayang imahe, gaya ng makamundong pagnanasa at paggamit ng mga ideya o ng mga paraan na hindi maganda upang magkaroon ng pagbabago at mapasunod ang mga tao. Number 2 salient points of the letter is the defense of private judgment. It is stated in the letter that we should not consult our own opinion and instead, we should hear the other side opinion. So, kailangan hindi natin hinahayaan ang ating sarili na paniwalaan lang kung anong gusto nating paniwalaan. Kailangan din natin marinig ang hinaing at ang hatol ng ibang tao. It is also stated by Rizal that it is more presumptuous for a person to put his judgment above of the others and make it prevail over theirs. So, mas malakas ang kalooban ng isang tao kung mailalagay niya sa taas ang kanyang paghatol or ng kanyang opinion kaysa sa iba at mapanaig ito sa kabila ng opinion ng mga tao. Number 3 salient points of the letter is the qualities that a Filipino mother need to possess. In here, Rizal shows a great concern to Filipino children. So, ipinapakita sa bahagi ito kung ano nga ba ang gaano kataas ang concern ni Rizal sa mga kabataang Pilipino. So, he believes that if a mother cannot stand with her own feet, then that mother will always have a children who will always be undermined. So, kapag ang ina ay hindi malakas ang kalooban, magkakaroon ito ng mga anak na mahina rin ang kalooban. So, kailangan alam nila kung paano poprotektahan ang kanilang sarili, ang kanilang dignidad at ang kanilang karangalan bilang isang Pilipino, bilang isang ina at bilang isang anak. Number 4 salient points of the letter is the duties and responsibilities of Filipino mothers to their children. So in here, Filipino mothers should teach their children like a Spartan mothers who offers their son's life in protecting their own territory. So kailangan turuan ng inang Pilipino ang kanyang anak na magkaroon ng lakas ng loob na ipagtanggol ang kanyang teritoryo laban sa mga mananakop. They also need to educate themselves aside from retaining good racial values. At dapat din gabayan ng isang ina ang kanyang anak at ipakita kung ano nga ba ang dapat na behavior ng lalaki around her. Next salient points of the letter is the duties and responsibilities of wife to her husband. So, Filipino women are known to be submissive, tender, and loving. Kilala ang mga Pilipino kababaihan bilang isang mapagmahal at mapagkumbaba, masunurin. So, in this portion of the letter, isinulat ni Rizal kung paano maging isang asawa bilang babae para ma-preserve ang kanyang katangian, ang kanyang pagkakakilanlan at ang kanyang lahi. Lastly, is the counsel to young women on their choice of a lifetime partner. So in this portion, Rizal points out the unmarried Filipino women or the unmarried women. He says that we should not be taken by a merely appearance and looks because this can be very deceiving. So kailangan hindi tayo manilang ng mga pisikal na katangian ng isang lalaki upang piliin lang natin sila bilang isang kabiyak. So instead, we should take ahead of men fairness of character and lofty ideas. So, kailangan din ng lalaki ay mayroong katangiang a noble and honored name, a manly heart, and a high spirit incapable of being satisfied with engendering slaves. So, kailangan hindi satisfied ang isang lalaki na magkaroon na naman ng hindi kaaya-ayang katangian ng anak or hindi magkaroon ng slave. Ibig sabihin, mangmang, dapat alam niya kung paano iangat ang buhay ng kanyang pamilya. Young women must edify themselves. So, kailangan ipakita natin bilang isang babae kung ano nga ba ang dapat. Live the real Christian way, kung ano nga ba yung pamumuhay ng isang Kristyanismo at kung ano nga ba ang moralidad, yung pagpapakita ng manners. So, kailangan maging matalino din ang isang babae sa pagpili ng kanyang lifetime partner or ng kanyang kabiyak. Rizal wrote on his essay his concern to Filipino women. Quote, "Not that you responded to our vehement clamor for the public welfare, now that you have shown a good example to fellow women, who, like you, desire their eyes open and to be lifted from the frustration our hope brows. Now we are confident of victory. God gave each one of his own mind and his own conscience so that he can distinguish between right and wrong. All men are born without chain, free, and no one can subject the will and spirit of another. We shall not falter if you help us. God will help us to dispel the mist, for he is God of truth, and the former brilliance of the Filipino women will be restored and diminished. She lacks nothing but a free mind, for she has and exists of goodness." Yung pagkukusa or initiative ng Filipino women is highly appreciated by Rizal as expressed in his gratification over his success. So in their time, women would rather take for granted education because of the common notions that they would soon only be taken as wives and stay at home with their children. So, taken for granted ang mga kababaihan, hindi sila pinag-aaral dahil nga naniniwala ang mga tao na pagdating ng araw is na nag-asawa na sila is mananatili sila sa kanilang bahay kasama ang kanilang anak. So yung pagnanais na magkaroon ng similar or katulad na opportunity sa kalalakihan is katangi-tangi, as much as Rizal strongly emphasize or idinidiin ni Rizal na magkaroon ng sariling kaisipan at magkaroon ng karapatang makapag-aral ang mga tao, hindi lang lalaki, kundi pati rin ang kababaihan.
Hello guys, for now I'm going to discuss to you Rizal's message to Filipino women. Rizal has immense respect to Filipino women on their vital role as wives and mothers. So this explained that wives and mothers mainly the source of values in ensuring the progress of the nation by nourishing the youth with proper values and needed knowledge and molding them to be useful and responsible citizens. So for us, we are starting to get values and knowledge at home in our mother. So that explains on how Rizal has immense respect for Filipino women and wives. Rizal was greatly impressed by the fighting spirit that the young women of Malolos had shown. In his letter, he expresses great joy and satisfaction over the battle they had fought. Rizal's ultimate desire was for women to be offered the same opportunities as those received by men in terms of education. During those days, young girls were not sent to school because of the universal notion, I guess, that they would soon only be taken as wives to stay home and with the children. Rizal, however, emphasized on freedom of thought and the right to education which must be granted to both boys and girls. So Rizal support gender equality. Rizal enunciated his great desire for Filipino women to enjoy the privilege and education along with men. Moreover, he appealed to the women to be heedful of their rights and not to be docile towards many injustices forced upon them. Men and women are born equal. So these are the following values Rizal necessitated to every woman. First of all, love for honor, sincere and firm character, clear mind, clear conduct, noble action, love for one's fellow men, and lastly, respect for God. As Rizal mentioned, the youth is most flower bed that is to bear fruits. It must accumulate wealth for its descendants. So again, the mother must raise their children according to the image of God and acclimatize the mind for pleasant idea. A mother must teach her children to prefer death with honor to life with dishonor. For today's generation or for in recent times, it seems that these qualities are gradually lost in the way Filipino women conduct themselves. There are oftentimes moments where mothers forget their role in rearing their children because of overriding idea of having to earn for the family to supplement their husband's income. Although there is nothing negative about working hard for the welfare of the family, there must always be balance in the way people go through life. Failure in home cannot be compensated for by any amount, wealth, or fame.
So the next subtopic that I'm going to discuss is the responsibilities of Filipino mothers to their children. Rizal stressed that the mother's influences on their children is vital to their personality, valor, and moral disposition. Garcia also noted that whatever a mother shows to her children is what her children will become. Rizal added that if the mother is always kissing the hands of the friars in submission, then her children will grow up to be sycophants and mindless fools who do nothing but do as they are told, even if the very nature of the task would violate their rights as individuals. Rizal stipulates a number of important points in this portion of his letter to the young women of Malolos. The central idea here, however, is whatever a mother shows to her children is what her children will also become. Kasi 'di ba, yung primary factor ng pagkatao natin is yung family natin. Na-adapt natin yung culture, norms, language, and character natin from our environment, from home, lalong-lalo na sa mothers natin. Kasi kung ano yung tinuturo niya sa atin, nadadala natin yun hanggang sa paglaki. So, what qualities a Filipino mother must possess, therefore? First, be a noble wife. When you say noble, it means marangal. When you say marangal, honorable, dignified, honest, courageous, you say it. Lahat ng magagandang katangian na sa taong marangal. And when you say noble wife naman, it means she is a wife who acts and speaks with wisdom. So, matalino. hinahangaan ng ibang tao. Second, rear her children in the service of the state. Here, Rizal gives reference to the women of Sparta who embody this quality. So, ganun pa rin naman, still nurturing the child, taking care of the child, and raising the children. Pero it's just that, in here, Rizal gives reference to the Spartan women. Kaya, ibig sabihin, a Filipino mother should give birth and raise a brave warrior. When we say warrior, hindi naman literal na warrior talaga yung nakikipaglaban sa digmaan and all that. A warrior could be in a medical field, in law, in politics, in education. Our educators are an example of warriors, yung napapanahong warriors. So, it's all about giving birth to a child and letting the child grow up educated. In addition to this, in times of war, Filipino mothers should be glad to offer their sons in defense of the nation. So, actually, this is one of the most valuable characteristics of Spartan women. So, third is set standards of behavior for men around her. So, set standards of men. Mag-set ka daw ng standard ng mga kalalakihan kung paano ba dapat sila makipag-usap sa kababaihan, kung paano ba yung behavior nila, yung character nila, kung dapat pa mabait sila, at tender. Ganon, you should set standards and teach them how to be a man who respects a woman. Moreover, Calao noted the words of Rizal. Remember that good mother does not resemble that the friar has created. She must bring up her child to be the image of the true God, awaken and prepare the will of our children towards all that is honorable, to all that is sincere and firm of purpose, clear judgment and procedure, honesty in act and deed, love for fellow men, and the respect for God. And this you must teach your children. So, the conclusion of this is that mothers should be sincere and aware of her own personality. She must know what are the best things to do to nurture her children in the best way. And she must know what are the best things to teach her children to be a good people.
Now, this is the advice of Jose Rizal to the bachelors and splinters. Jose Rizal said that unmarried women should not be easily taken by appearances and looks because this can be very deceiving. Instead, they should take heed of men's firmness of character and lofty ideas. So, sabi ni Rizal, tayong mga babae ay hindi dapat tayo malinlang sa panlabas na kaanyuan ng mga lalaki. Dapat yung hanapin nating mga lalaki ay yung mayroong karakter, mayroong magandang personalidad at mayroong pangarap sa buhay. Rizal adds that there are 3 things that a young woman must look for in a man she intends to be her husband. Number 1, a noble and honored name. So, dapat yung hinahanap natin sa mga lalaki ay yung mayroong respeto sa kanyang kapwa, especially sa mga babae. Yung lalaking mayroong magandang pag-uugali tulad ng isang noble na tao. And number 2, a manly heart. Dapat yung lalaking gentleman, yung alam na protektahan yung kanyang pamilya in times of crisis. And last is a high spirit incapable of being satisfied with engendering slaves. So, dapat yung hanapin natin mga lalaki ay yung matapang sa panahon ng crisis. Hindi yung mahina at hindi kayang ipaglaban yung problema. Dapat yung may high spirit na lalaki na capable na labanan yung kahirapan at mga pagsubok na darating sa ating buhay. Yung baga makakatuwang mo sa hirap at sa ginhawa. That's it.
The last subtopic of our report is the analysis. The letter to the young women of Malolos centered around 5 salient points. First, Filipino mothers should teach their children love of God, country, and fellow men. Second, Filipino mothers should be glad and honored like Spartan mothers to offer their sons in defense of their country. Third, Filipino women should know how to protect their dignity and honor. Fourth, Filipino women should educate themselves aside from retaining their racial values. And fifth, faith is not merely reciting prayers and wearing religious pictures. It is living the real Christian way with good morals and manners. In recent times, it seems that these qualities are gradually lost in the way Filipino women conduct themselves. There are some instances where Filipino mothers prefer to trade their roles in nurturing the growth of their children with working to earn for the family to supplement their husband's income because sometimes it's not really enough. Although there is nothing wrong in working hard for the welfare of the family, there must always be a balance in the way mothers go through their lives. If they really have to work, they should balance their time for work and time for their children because failures at home cannot be compensated with any amount of wealth or money. There are also some instances where Filipino women doesn't value Filipino culture, specifically conservativeness anymore. Instead of letting men court them, they court men instead, or they instantly say yes after a day of courtship. And that's not how Filipino women should be. However, it's not bad for Filipino women to express themselves, but they had to act in a way that their dignity and honor is protected. And that ends our report.
I was there when I needed someone who wasn't getting over you. When I move to the side, when I move, call you mine, and I know what you're feeling.